And now I would like to welcome Eline Snel. Thank you very much for joining us tonight and for accepting our invitation to lead the session tonight. And maybe, Eline, you could start just with a few words about yourself, about your work, what you do in the field of mindfulness in education, and then please proceed. So thank you very much, everyone, and thank you, Eline. And you need to unmute yourself.
Yeah, this I just did. Okay, can everybody hear me? I hope so. Yes. Okay. Well, I'm very happy to meet you all in this way in our living rooms or studies or kitchens where we are. And I thank you very much, Tobias, for making this possible and for helping me out when something is wrong with the language or whatever can go wrong in such meetings. Thank you very much for inviting me to. And I hope this will be a very interactive meeting all together. Well, my name is Eline, and I'm a grandmother of 9 grandchildren, a mother of 4 children. So I have a lot of practice with children in my own home. But besides that, I'm a mindfulness trainer for 30 years now, more than 30 years maybe. And well, I think 14 years ago, maybe 15 years ago, I was training a group of school directors, and they were so excited about the benefits for them as a teacher and as directors of schools, what the mindfulness course brought them, that they asked me, well, can you develop something like this for children, but because it doesn't exist. And at that time, I didn't know if I could do that because it didn't exist. So I started to find out, and I worked a lot with kids and their teachers and parents and school inspectors to make a real nice program for kids that could be used in every school, in every hospital, in a lot of languages, and it could also be measured because the whole program is completely written out. And when I make this possible for kids, I just realized at that moment how important kids find it and found it, because they were really thirsty and kind of hungry to receive the lessons. And every time when one of the teachers forgot to start with a meditation in the morning or keep a silent lunch, when they forget, they asked for it and said, well, please, can we start with a meditation, or can we do again the silent lunch? So it was a sign that they really needed this very much. And now we are training a lot of teachers and psychologists all over the world. So yes, it's a very exciting time, and even much more now during the pandemic and the COVID time, because, well, we are not educated as jugglers, but we have to keep up a lot of balls in the air, not only by teaching in all kind of different ways, but also for our own mindfulness practice in between all the things we have to do in a very special way. So one of the things that I think is the most important while we are teaching mindfulness or practicing mindfulness is that we bring ourselves into the present moment. And this is one of the basics, of course, in mindfulness practice. So I would like to invite you to to join me in a very short meditation, which is not meant for kids, but for ourselves. And later on in this meeting, we will also do a little frog exercise. But for now, I would like to invite you to sit in your most comfortable way. And give yourself some time to be sure that you are sitting comfortable. And we can start with just observing the way we are sitting right now. What do you notice? Is your body sitting comfortably? Or is it a bit tensed? How are your shoulders doing? Are they relaxed? Or can you allow them to relax a little bit more? Just take your time to lower your shoulders. Until the moment you feel they are in the natural position where they belong. No need to keep them up. Just lower your shoulders. And then, when you are ready, you can feel your feet in contact with the floor. Maybe you feel your legs in a relaxed position. You can make contact with your back. Your arms and your hands. They have no need to tighten. And at this point, you can take your time to let your mind free. Follow the stream of thoughts for a moment. From a little distance. In a way you would observe a deer at the edge of a forest. We are not in a hurry. We just take our time to sit comfortably, observe our body, relaxed, but also awake. And then, at the moment you feel ready, you can shift your attention to feel that you are breathing. No need at all to think about the breath. Just feel the breath moving in your body. Maybe you feel the movement of the breath in your breast or your belly. A little bit up and a little bit down goes the breast and the belly. Allow yourself to just Feel it. Feel the soft movement of the breath in the body. And let the thoughts free. Without suppress anything or worry about anything. Undivided attention in this very moment. There's only now. This breath. Observing the soft movement of the body. In this moment we can feel present. Paying attention as good as we can. We cannot make any faults or breathe better or worse than anyone else. We simply follow the breath coming in and flowing out again. Only this. And after a few seconds, when you hear the bells, you can just open your eyes again and see if you can keep up this quality of awareness. Okay, maybe there's someone who wants to share something about your experience during this short meditation. Feel free to share anything you want to share. Is there anyone?
I have a very small thing I'd like to share. And not to share, I just want to say that I really loved this image of observing a deer at the edge of the forest. That immediately put me into a different state. And that I thought that was really powerful and interesting, how much I reacted to that.
Oh yes, that's interesting to hear, especially when you mention that it brings you immediately in this way of having this distance and this interest in what's happening. Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you. Is there someone else who wants to share something or say something about your experience?
Yeah, I liked it very much when you mentioned that there's no hurry. Because I felt that when I started the meditation with you, well, I was still in a hurry because I just came from another meeting.
Yeah.
And then just to insist on the fact that there is no hurry right now was very important for me. And all of a sudden I felt very relaxed in the face also. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. So these both remarks tells us that language is very important in meditations when they are guided. And this is even more important when we teach children something about mindfulness. When I just started to find out what children could understand from mindfulness, I needed a metaphor, because children are not helped very much when we go into the theory of mindfulness. So the frog was a very helpful metaphor, because the frog, kids can very easily identify with the frog, because they see the belly of the frog going up and down, and they can feel it with their own belly too. So this was interesting for them. And another part of the frog metaphor is that frogs are very awake of their surrounding. They are not only tuning in and exclude the rest of the world. No, they are very aware of what's happening outside, as well as where they are sitting still and don't move. They can sit very, very still. So this is the heart of mindfulness, when we don't share with children that they don't need to exclude the outer world. We just say, well, frogs can sit very still, but when the fly is coming by, they pick it. So they react only when it's necessary, when they are hungry, when a raindrop is falling on their leg or on their eye. And the third reason for taking the frog as a metaphor is that when children, and maybe this is also your experience, when children are getting mindfulness lessons in school, which is a learning environment, so it's very easy for them to receive these mindfulness lessons in school, then when they get it from day to day, the whole year long, by well-trained teachers, then a transformation is coming to happen. And there is this beautiful frog story, a fairy tale, where the frog is getting the golden ball of the princess. She throws the ball by accident in the pond, and he is catching it. And the frog is saying, well, when you will get your ball back, you have to kiss me at the dinner table of your father, the king. And then she says, well, I won't do this. This is crazy. I won't do this. And then he said, well, then you will not get your ball back. So at the end of the story, she invites him to the dinner table of her father, and with her eyes closed and in a way, well, I don't want it, but I have to, she kisses the frog, and then he changes into a prince. And this is exactly what happens also with the kids. Some kids in the first instance don't really want to sit still. They want to move, they want to interact immediately, they want to search for signs. And so when they understand that, well, it's maybe not very easy, and maybe you don't like to do it, but when you do it, then a transformation will take place. And we don't share this with them, but they notice during most of the time on the third or the fourth lesson of the method, they start finding out that they are less reactive, that they are more kind to people on the playground, that they don't exclude kids who want to play with them. They don't exclude so easy anymore. And maybe the most important thing is that they start to realize what focus is. Maybe some of you read my book, Sitting Still Like a Frog, but there I describe about my daughter. When she was 5 or 6 and she came home from school, she was very, very angry sometimes and said, well, all the teachers are saying to me I have to concentrate because then my work will go easier. But nobody says to me what it is. I don't know what it is. I don't know how to do it. So I can't. And well, she's now 33. But at that time, I started with her my first mindfulness for kids lessons, because I wanted her to understand that you can train your attention muscle by realize that your mind is gone, like a frog can make enormous leaps, that your mind is gone and you're thinking about your girlfriend or the party you have tomorrow, and how you can bring back your attention again, your awareness to what is happening now. So that were my first steps in working with kids and trying to find out what kind of words and what kind of exercises would help them to focus, to be present in their bodies, to use their senses again, and not lose it when they are growing up, to find out what feelings are and how you can make the difference between feelings and thoughts and that kind of thing. So it was for me also a very, very interesting journey of years. I think it took me 4 years to write all the trainer manuals for 4 different age groups. So, but I loved it, and I learned, of course, the most of my work I learned from the kids themselves. Because what I said again, and also thanks to Anne and Catherine, I think was your name, that language is so important for kids. Sometimes I used, when we were talking about limits, for example, with kids in one of the themes we were training them, and they think that limits are like borders of geography. They don't think about limits that you have your own limits. Kids think in a real different way than adults think, and this was very, very interesting to really hear from them what kind of language they understand. And I also hear it from my grandchildren. I have a grandson of 6. His name is Nesta. He's a lot of time with us. And also in this COVID time, I sometimes teach him the school lessons. But when he was receiving his first school report with the figures and the marks, everybody was very excited. His mother said, well, Nesta, very well done. His father said, Nesta, this is a great report. And he was just looking around in the way, I don't know what you're talking about. So I asked him, Nesta, do you understand what a report is? And then he said, no, I have no idea what they are talking about. So he was receiving something, he didn't understand what it was. And so a lot of times we speak in a kind of magical language to children they don't understand at all. And this was, well, one of the most interesting parts of teaching children how to meditate. So this language change I had to make was one of the basics of teaching children how to meditate. And feel free to ask questions if you have any questions. We can make it as interactive as we want. So feel free to raise your hand or whatever to make clear that you want to say something. Maybe Tobias, you can show the second slide. Yes, this is about, maybe I can make it a little bit smaller because I cannot see you anymore. Or can you put it out for me, Tobias, and only make it visible for the rest? And otherwise it will be okay. No, it's just slide 2 about autonomy and yes, and relationships. So this, I think, is one of the most important psychological needs of every human, and it's completely into every mindfulness lesson. It's about how we relate with each other. It's about autonomy. It's about competence. And this relationship is what we have to make with each other when we teach mindfulness to children. Because without having a relationship with each other, we cannot teach mindfulness. Because relationships with children in a class or with your colleagues or with your own children are very much about see each other, take the time to hear each other, which is sometimes different than what we think we hear, and feel each other, feel each other's energy. So when we really see each other and feel and hear each other, we can feel safe. We can feel trusted. And during teaching mindfulness for children, this is very, very important, because children feel immediately when you teach something that you are not completely what you really are. Do you understand what I mean? They feel if you tell a story or you do a kind of meditation, and they feel immediately when you are really in relationship with what you are teaching to yourself and to them. So this is one of the basics of teaching mindfulness, to be in relation with yourself and the kids. And also feel yourself during the lesson. Realize when you are gone with your mind and thinking to maybe a parent meeting you have later, or a meeting with the school leader, or whatever your mind can wander. Autonomy is also one of the very important parts of teaching mindfulness, that kids can really show who they are and what they think and how they feel. So it's a kind of being independent in how you feel, think, and behave. And this is what you can see very closely when you teach mindfulness to children. So this is a kind of interesting part of teaching mindfulness. Competence is another very important thing, because every kid is competent to meditate. Every kid is competent to teach him or herself mindfulness when they are taught by a teacher who is also a mindful teacher. So this is again that we also need to be competent in teaching mindfulness, and feel that what you teach is who you are. And sometimes for teachers, this is not very easy because teachers are educated themselves in working with the red pencil and the green pencil. So we are taught in dealing with and judging this is right and this is wrong. And this is one of the most fantastic parts of teaching mindfulness, that there is no right or wrong. There is no right experience. There is no right breath or wrong breath. Kids cannot make any faults. And when we share this with them, it's very interesting. They have such big eyes. Can we make not any faults? It's lovely to hear them say that. Another interesting part of this competence is that kids really learn from mindfulness lessons what they need at that moment. So it's learning in a complete other way than the traditional learning of school lessons. They just learn what they need at that moment. And for one kid, it will be that they learn maybe at that time they need to lower their temper and their emotions and not hit their brother or sister immediate when they feel criticized or when someone gets their place. And for another kid, it will be that they are not feeling so lonely anymore because they feel understood. And for another kid, it will be in a complete other way. So they learn what they need in their own tempo, often in a way we don't know always. So because they are not tested. Kids are tested from a very young age. If they are competent to go to another level, if they are competent to go to another class, or so we constant measure competence. And in mindfulness lesson, we trust in their competence, that they can learn whatever they need. And that they can find their own way. It's a very interesting process. And it's very difficult also when you start teaching mindfulness to children to let go the idea that we can control what they need to learn. It's very unusual also, but interesting. And one of the most difficult things in teaching mindfulness. Are there any questions about this? Maybe you can, yes, thank you, Tobias. Are there any questions? Maybe I can ask you one group question for this moment. Just sit comfortably in your most comfortable and relaxed way. And maybe you can take a moment of personal reflection and go back in your memory and see if you can find one person, a teacher or another person, that you will never forget. What makes this person for you so special? Maybe there's one person who wants to respond on this question. What makes this person so special that you will never forget this teacher or this neighbor or... I see a chat in my screen. I'm not so digital specialized, but I saw a chat, and it was about that someone really listened to me. Justina, thank you for this. Maybe some other people recognize themselves in this answer, that someone was really listening to you without expecting, without judging, without wanting something from you. She was approachable. Anja is saying that. Yeah, she was approachable. Okay, thank you, Anja. Meeting my needs and giving me some responsibilities in primary schools. Yes, my teacher. Yeah, wonderful. Giving you the responsibilities and see what you needed as a kid. Yeah.
There was
Wonderful.
one more that I felt accepted like I am.
Yes. Feeling accepted as I am. So this, and confidence in me. So this is really what we are showing now to each other. This is what the heart of mindfulness is. Teaching mindfulness to children and to adults, by the way, is very much about this. It's about seeing and hearing each other in the way we are, and we are expressing ourselves without any judgment, without all kind of thoughts we can have about him or her. It's about really see, hear, and feel each other. And when we can do this as a mindful teacher while teaching mindfulness, then you give a lot of children the opportunity to have the experience to meet someone in their lives who is really there for them. And this is what we get back a lot of times from children in the classes we are teaching. And I could trust him. Yes. Yeah, is someone saying. So this trust and this patience that they will show themselves what they learned and that they can deal with this. So this competence that they trust in themselves. This is something which is such a very precious value within this teaching mindfulness and mindful teaching. Thank you very much for sharing this. I'm having a look at my watch and the time is flying really. So maybe we can do a short frog exercise so that you can become familiar with the special language for children. Okay. So I will ring the bell again, and maybe you can make yourself as comfortable as you can, and put your feet on the floor. In this exercise, I'd like to teach you to sit still like a frog. All you need to do is find a place to sit with your back maybe a little bit straight, your legs either crossed or stretched out, and your attention focused on yourself. Frogs can jump really far and croak really loud, but they can also sit very still and do nothing. Frogs also may find it difficult to sit still at first. Their arms want to move, their legs want to move, But the more you practice, the better you'll get. And then you'll enjoy doing nothing at all, except to sit still as a frog can sit. If you like, you can close your eyes or half close them. Just do whatever feels good to you. And now, just like the frog, you're sitting as still as you can. But to be still, you need attention. Attention and calm. Your legs are still. Your arms are still. Your bottom is still. And even your head is still and calm. And while you're sitting here, maybe you notice that some part of you is always moving. Maybe your eyelids are moving, or perhaps a finger. Or maybe your bottom can stop wiggling. And that's absolutely fine. It's not that you are not allowed to move, but that you notice that something is moving. And do you know what else is always moving? No matter how still you are, it's the breath. The breath in your belly. Why don't you put your hands on your belly and feel the belly move up and down a little bit while you are breathing? You can feel your belly move up a little and down a bit. Up a little and down a bit. Can you feel it? Tuning into your breath calms you down. And just like the frog, you stay still for a moment, as still as you can. Maybe you want to do the frog exercise tomorrow again. You're doing great. Tuning into your breathing can be very helpful. When you're angry, when you're feeling sad or fallen down, or when you're tired. So maybe you want to practice sitting still like a frog again tomorrow. Who knows? When you hear the bell in a moment, you can just open your eyes again and go on with what you are going and wanting to do. So, this is a little bit what we do with the children. This is a meditation for the very young ones, starting with 4, for example, and we do it always with the whole class. So maybe there's one person who wants to respond on this exercise or share some experience.
Yeah, I would like to ask a question because I had the experience recently that there are always some children, for them it's really, really difficult to not speak during the exercise. And sometimes I don't really know how to deal with that, if it's better just to continue and ignore or to make a little sign like "Stir"? Can you recommend?
Yes, because this happens almost with everyone. And also when I was doing all those tryouts with the kids. And what I experienced as very helpful is into the meditation, just say out loud or soft, I notice that, or I hear some kids talking a little bit. Do you notice it yourself, that you are using your voice? And I will just wait until everybody is very quiet again.
Okay.
Then continue. So you show that you hear and see them talking, and not make any comment, but just show them that you see them and ask them if they notice it themselves. And sometimes they don't notice that they are talking or moving or wobbling, or so I ask them to notice that they are talking and then wait until everybody is still again, and then we go on, and then just go on during the meditation. This is what I always do. It is very, very helpful.
Okay, thank you. I try that.
Yes, lots of success. Thank you for the question. It's a very good question. Yeah. Is there someone else who wants to share something? I think that we had some time spared for the 3 questions, but maybe it's a good idea, because I see we only have 10 minutes to leave the questions with you, and that you take your time maybe after this meeting to answer these questions. What do you remember as good and warm in your own childhood? And what did you miss the most during your childhood? And what would you like to wish for your kids to learn in the school of life, or the kids in your class? So these questions can help you very much to go back in your own childhood and remember what was very helpful and warm for yourself. And that will be very helpful and warm for kids in your daily life too. So these are the questions. Yes. And I don't know, Tobias, if people can take this part of the presentation home, or do they get the whole presentation?
We can send the whole presentation.
Yeah.
Together with the flyer and everything.
Yeah. So please give yourself some time to dive in these questions, because these questions and the answers you will give will help you very much to teach mindfulness to children as well. And then we can go to the next slide. Yes, some people ask me, why did you have those develop those teacher manuals for 4 different age groups? And during my pilot period 14-15 years ago, when I was making the program, it was obvious that we needed different age groups, because kids of 4 need a complete other lesson and content and stories than teenagers, for example, or even kids of 10 years old. It's a huge difference, and well, you all will know that this difference is enormous. So all the 4 manuals are with more or less the same themes, but in a very different language. There are stories in it, there are movement in it, there's a little play in every half an hour, and there's a meditation. There's always a meditation and some sharing. And we all do it during, well, a normal day in a normal class, also in special education, also in mental health institutes where kids are getting their lessons in special education. 3 questions. I just saw that you will show the 3 questions. Yeah. So this is the content of every teacher manual, and it's really a kind of MBSR for the kids. And because everything is completely written out, it's easy to measure, to do a scientific measuring of it. And it's done in different countries with this method. And I would like to end with The Secret of Happiness with a short movie so that you can see how we use the thing, it's nice to be kind, how we teach children compassion and self-compassion. And in this very short movie part, you can see how easy kids understand how to give a compliment to each other and really mean it, and that it not needs to be of your beautiful Nikes or new clothes you have, but it's because who you are, and that's what a compliment is about. So maybe Tobias, you can show the movie. Dit is de complimentenbal. Hij is heel veel kleurtjes. Er zitten heel veel complimenten in deze bal. En iedereen mag de ander een compliment geven. Dat mag je zelf kiezen. Dat hoeft niet altijd iemand te zijn die je aardig vindt. Het is juist eigenlijk heel erg leuk om eens een compliment te geven aan iemand waar je misschien helemaal normaal gesproken niet zo aardig tegen doet. Of waar je niet zo gewend bent iets aardigs tegen te doen. Dus het hoeft niet tegen je vrienden te zijn. Juist eigenlijk niet. Ik zou je willen vragen om eens een compliment te willen geven aan mensen waaraan je misschien nog nooit een compliment hebt gegeven.
Tom. Ik vind dat je van vroeger maar echt heel erg vooruit bent gegaan met eigenlijk alles. En doordat jij altijd die boodschap geeft van stop met mij de hele tijd pesten. Ik wil graag ook nog naar een goede school, help mij. Doet iedereen dat ook. En dat vind ik echt heel goed van jou. Dat je dat gewoon zegt.
Roos. Ik vind dat je tegen iedereen heel aardig doet. Zelfs tegen degene die je niet zo aardig vindt. En je bent gewoon heel zorgzaam, net zoals Azima.
Nou, ik vind dat je altijd heel gelukkig bent en je doet wel altijd heel erg lief. Dankjewel. Ik vind je heel erg slim. En je doet altijd, je helpt iedereen altijd. Je bent heel erg behulpzaam, vind ik. Ja, je bent gewoon aardig.
Lisa.
De eerste keer toen ik je verhaal hoorde van dat je werd gepest, ja, toen schrok ik wel een beetje. Ik merk wel dat je hier heel erg gelukkig bent. En ik vind het ook heel leuk, want telkens als je je verhaal vertelt, dan moet je lachen.
Kelly. Nou, ik vind je heel aardig en je ziet er altijd heel leuk uit en ik vind je gewoon heel aardig.
Ja, ga maar zitten als je al een compliment gehad hebt. Dan is het makkelijk om te zien.
Ik vind je heel aardig tegen iedereen, ook al ken ik je niet echt goed, want ik zit in een andere klas. Maar zoals je met andere kinderen omgaat, lijkt je me heel erg aardig. Dat gebeurt bijna nooit vanzelf bij mij, dat ik opeens een complimentje krijg.
Nee, dat is ook wel toch heel bijzonder. En dat je dan voelt dat je je daar veel beter door gaat voelen. Dat vind ik zo
Ja, ik
fijn.
kreeg dat complimentje en toen werd ik helemaal blij.
Ja, heel bijzonder.
Ja.
Ik word er ook eigenlijk heel blij van binnen als jij dat vertelt. Dus, dankjewel. Tot volgende week, hè?
Tot volgende week.
Doeg!
Het was heel fijn om een compliment te krijgen. Ja, want
Okay. Well, this is a lovely way to end. It's much too short, always much too short. So maybe I have a few minutes for questions. But this end of this movie shows a lot about what children always say to us, that they don't feel seen very often. They don't feel heard very often, and they are feeling so insecure about themselves, and they think often that they are stupid and not smart enough and not likable enough, and so they really need, there's really such a need to teach mindfulness as it is meant to teach, and compassion is a very important part of it, and it's also a important part of the frog method, because of what you just saw in this last part of the movie, the TV documentary. So if there are any questions, feel free to ask me. I have some more minutes if you have too.
Hello.
Hello.
It's a bit dark here. I hope you can see me. I would like to ask you something. The frog is a really, really great picture or imagery, I think, which you use, but does it work with older children as well? I mean, what do you do then? Is the frog growing, or I don't know?
No, because, well, the frog is ageless. Every frog, for a million years, it is an image for every kid. But when I was teaching adolescents, it was very interesting, and I asked them if they wanted to listen to stories, because all kind of teachers told me, you don't need to give them stories, they have to find out themselves. But I was a little bit stubborn, so I wrote some stories, and they loved it, because the stories were about themselves. And they wanted to, I have this snow globe, and all the teenagers really loved it. It's
okay, yes, I see.
And when the snow falls down, it's just like their emotions, their strong emotions go down, and this is what they really love to have in their classroom, even when they are 19, and when they feel mixed up like this, they use the frog ball to give themselves some calm. After a minute, the most strong feelings are lowered down. So no, the frog is not childish at all.
Okay, thanks.
Yes, good question. Thank you.
I also have another question.
Yes, go ahead.
If you introduce mindfulness at school, what do you recommend? How often should children do the exercises, like once a week or more often at the beginning, or what are you doing normally? And because we would like to start at our school, but we don't really know what is the best way.
Yes, well, I think to start with, you need a real method, which is built up so that they can really start in an easy way. And then after 3 or 4 lessons, then you go into the feelings and into the thoughts and into the self-compassion. So you need a method, a structured method. And then the most ideal period is to give lessons of half an hour every week, and give daily kind of rehearsal teachings to deepen a little bit of 10 minutes or 5 minutes sometimes every day. So when you are in your own class, when you are your own class teacher, half an hour is a very good time to do it. And then every time, every day, 5 minutes, for example. And our method, for example, is 8 weeks, like the normal MBSR. So we do twice a year the 8-week program. Every teacher in the schools are doing it twice a year. So after the summer holiday, so in the autumn and also in spring, they do it for 8 weeks. And it doesn't matter when they do the same course twice, for example, or 3 or 4 times, because every experience will be different from the experience before.
So you are teaching twice a year a group of teachers every year. So
no, we are teaching. No, I thought your question was.
The children. The children. Okay.
Yes,
okay.
Yes. But we are teaching teachers 3 or 4 times a year in different countries. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we also have an online training course to be a mindful teacher in the Netherlands. Yes. And
once you've done the training at your company,
yes,
you will receive all the manuals you talked about before.
Yes, there is. You can do the primary school teacher course, so to teach primary school kids, and then you receive the 2 manuals for the young kids until the kids till 12. And when you are a secondary school teacher, you will receive the manuals for those age groups.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
True. Thank you.
There was one question in the chat. 1 second, please.
Yes.
And the question was, how do you explain the word mindfulness to younger kids?
Interesting. Sorry. I thought I would see a face, but this is okay. The answer is we don't explain. We just start with a beautiful story. We don't explain anything. We just guide them into the experience, which is the basic of teaching mindfulness. It's not about explaining or tell them the theory. They don't receive theory. We give them the experience. So, and with the little ones, it's going with Fred the frog, who has all kind of adventures. And in every class where young kids are taught mindfulness, they have their own frogs. And they have a very prominent place in the class. And they're, well, all kind of adventures, so he can feel his belly moving by touching it. And we don't explain what mindfulness is.
And I would like to ask you, Eline, about a situation when a new group is meeting for the first time and there is a silence during sharing. How to encourage them, or how to deal with my own feelings when I hear the silence.
Yes, Justina, hi, good to see you. Well, the last thing you mentioned is the most important thing, how to deal with my own feelings of inconvenience when there's a silence. At what age group you're thinking now with this question?
The youngest one.
The youngest one, yeah. Well, it's interesting because young kids not always have the right words to express what they feel. So sometimes I give a very little example about the subject where we are talking about. So examples can help, but also accepting that they don't have words at that moment. And sometimes the questioning is too difficult for them. It's too not suitable for their age group. But when you tune into this age group, when you are teaching the very young ones, they simply have not a big range of expressing by words. And that's okay. And they don't need to learn something at that age. It's just a kind of invitation to be more comfortable with sitting still, with using the senses, which they are very excellent in, the best of all age groups. So it's interesting to just tune into what's happening. And when you feel, okay, they don't have the words to express, it's okay. And just allow yourself also to be in contact with these feelings of feeling incompetent or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and say, oh yes, this feeling, I know this feeling. It's okay.
Thank you.
I have one more question, just because you said I'm teaching handicapped children, especially mentally handicapped children, and I could go with what you said about just not to explain, and it went fantastic. But on the other hand, I also have children or younger, taller children, and they can express themselves, and I always have the difficult, they want to talk about their feeling, and I have other kids which are not able to do. And so there's sometimes, now that I'm doing it for quite a while, I don't know how to deal with it sometimes.
Yes, well, I think there's not one answer for this, because I don't know the groups you're working with. But when we work with very young age, on a very young age, I don't teach children under 4, because they don't have the capacity to reflect very easily, and also give back what they are reflecting about. So the age of 5 is more ideal, but since we have mixed group of 4 and 5, it's okay to start teaching at that age group. And when we work with kids with disabilities, we work most of the time with images, pictures of emotions, and that they don't express with words, but just ask them to say yes or no whenever they feel the way this image express a feeling, like angry feeling, so that they become familiar with those expressions, feel happy, and ask how they look like when they feel happy, for example, and don't ask for words. But yes, you are a specialist, I think, in your work. So again, don't make it too difficult, and don't ask too much when teaching mindfulness. Don't try to control it. Let children show what they are at that moment and what they can show, and make it as easy as possible.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure. Maybe one question, and then maybe we can close. Yeah, I can go on because I have the whole evening, but yeah.
There's maybe
one last question, maybe.
Yeah, there's one last question in the chat.
Yeah.
And the question was, 1 second, I have to find it again. Okay, here it's a question by Lina. She is asking, can artistic methods be fittable for mindfulness training?
Artistic methods?
Yes.
Yes. And then I would like to hear a little bit more about what you exactly mean by artistic methods, because
Eline, maybe.
Yes, hello. I'm a student and for education in arts, and I am interested in how I can relate the mindfulness into my classroom, and how can I combine the two, the communication through the arts and the body and mindfulness. So I would like to know if you have used any kind of artistic method, or if you know about some research in that area.
Well, we use drawings, and we use songs, and we use some little poets, and we use stories, and kids can make drawings about their feelings. For example, the weather report is a very interesting first exercise, the personal weather report, about how they feel at this moment, and to learn that you cannot change the weather, so you also cannot change a feeling. You can just allow yourself to feel it. And by drawing the weather report, by drawing thunder or drawing the sun inside, kids make the direct relation between, allow themselves to express through a drawing what they feel inside. And in this way, we use different art forms during the training. But to teach children mindfulness through art is, I think, something different. In the first place, I think as a mindfulness teacher, as a piano player, you have to be very, very good in playing the piano before you teach children how to play the piano. And this is with mindfulness exactly the same. So maybe this is a kind of an answer, but in a lot of methods, and also in my method, kids are feeling very invited to use the drawing, to use their voice, sound, to use all different kind of expressions that you could call art, but it's not mindfulness by art. I don't know if that's existing, but when we train children, they use a lot of different forms of expression, not only words.
Thank you. That was the question.
Okay, thank you very much. So I would like to thank everyone to have this 100% attention and awareness during this, well, 5/4 of an hour. And I enjoyed it very much. Thank you very much for your attention and being with you.
Yeah, thank you, Eline, very much for the insights in your work and your experience, and all the questions you answered and everything you shared tonight. It was a pleasure. So we are very grateful that you shared everything with us, and we hope maybe we will see you at one in the future again here in this group. Would be,
I hope so.
Wonderful.
Yes.
So thank you very much. And I would like to thank everyone in the meeting that you joined tonight. There will be, the next session will be in 2 weeks. It will be in German again. So it's open for the German speaking participants. So if you'd like to join, please join again. There are many different teachers we invite for the series of these sessions. So again, Eline, thank you for this evening, and good night.
Pleasure. Good night.
Stay well and see you again.
Sleep well. All the best to everyone.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
All over the world. People from Brazil are even here.
Ah.
Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you, Tobias, for all your support. Thank you so much. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.